Hi there, this is Sarah White from ourdailycraft.com, and today I'm going to show you how to mend a hole in the toe of a sock. Now you can see that these are store-bought socks, and I've already actually had to mend these before, so you might be wondering why I'm bothering, but I like these socks, and if they didn't have holes in them, I'd still be wearing them, so it's worth a couple minutes of my time to just fix the holes and get to wear them a little bit longer. All you need for this is a needle and thread. I'm just using some regular white all-purpose sewing thread and a regular hand sewing needle like I would use for any hand sewing project. I went ahead and cut a length already, but I wanted to show you that I've got the thread doubled, and then I'm just going to tie a knot at the end, which I do by holding the thread ends across the top of the needle, wrap around 3 or 4 times, and then pull down to the end. That makes a nice secure knot, and I've got both of my ends then captured. If you don't want to have a knot in the bottom of your sock, I can't really feel it, so it doesn't bother me, but you can just weave in the thread a little bit on the inside of the sock just to catch the thread ends. And do that instead of tying a knot and just making sure that it's really secure. Now I'm just going to go into a couple of stitches on the inside of the sock and go through both sides and pull that through. But then for the most part, I like to work on the front side just because it's easier to see, to make sure that you're getting everything. And just that you are okay with the look of it when it's done. So you can see here that there are some of the stitches are loose, and we want to make sure that we're capturing all of those threads so that the sock won't continue to unravel. So we're kind of going to look stitch by stitch and go through one side and then the other. I do it kind of like a whip stitch. You see how I went through what's the back here and then the front, and then I'm going back to the back. That makes it a little more visible on the top, but I don't know. I like to do it that way. It feels secure. And here I'm going into that. You can see that loop from the stitch. So I'm catching that so that it won't continue to unravel. And here where it's kind of dropped a little, I'm just grabbing those threads and weaving through to secure them. Because the stitches on a machine-made sock are so small, it's kind of hard to go in with a crochet hook and pick up those stitches that are dropping. So I just secure them as best I can. And where the loop is still visible, I'll grab it. And if there's not a loop that's come loose, I just do my best to secure across the hole and kind of go into the stitch at the top. And where it's fuzzy, I try not to cut yarn too much with these, but I'm going to take this big fuzzy out with just a little pair of scissors, and maybe this one too, just because it's clearly just fuzz. It's not a part of the sock that's integral to the sock, working. And so I just need a couple more stitches on this side. And our hole is gone. Now sometimes I will go in and go back to the back, just take the needle through and flip the sock over and go back to the back, and you can see where your stitching is here and just kind of go back over. Again, whip stitching is fine here. and just kind of reinforce that stitching to make sure that it's going to stay secure. Now these socks are a bit of a cautionary tale because the reinforced part from when I mended it the last time, then the spot directly next to that became a hole because the fabric is weaker there. And so, you know, if you want, you can go ahead and stitch just all the way across the toe on the inside to sort of reinforce where there's not a hole already, in the hope that it won't develop a hole in the future. So there I've worked even past, so I'm kind of worked back to where my original mend was, just again to reinforce that toe a little bit. And then to finish, I'm going to do a knot exactly the same way, just wrap the yarn around, the thread around a few times, and then I will stick that into the stitches, just a couple stitches to kind of hold that tail, and then trim it with my scissors. And let's pop it back out and see how it looks. Now again, this is somewhat visible. You can see my old mend is more visible than the new one. Part of that is just not using matching thread, but again, this is my sock. These are my toes that are gonna see it. You know, I generally wear shoes in public and people don't notice that my toes are mended with non-matching threads, so that doesn't bother me. But if it bothers you and you happen to have matching thread for your sock, by all means use matching thread if that makes you feel better. I just don't happen to care. So that is a quick and easy way to mend a hole in the toe of a sock. I hope that if you have some socks that you are on the verge of throwing away, that you will give this a try and hopefully get to wear them and enjoy them a little bit longer. Happy crafting!